Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of OHR, Universal, Disney, and More, where we give our thoughts on parks, products, and anything related. Today I wanted to compare the new tribute stores at Universal Studios and Disney's Hollywood Studios. For some background here, a tribute store is a highly themed store created for movie franchises or events. Universal largely invented this concept a while ago when they started doing highly themed stores dedicated to Christmas, Halloween Horror Nights, and their annual Mardi Gras event. They then extended this idea to Jurassic World, E.T., Jaws, Jurassic Park, and my personal favorite, Back to the Future. So generally speaking, these stores change themes 3 to 4 times a year based on the season and are always immensely popular and successful. As such, recently Disney decided to get in on the success of these stores by creating their own tribute store for the new Indiana Jones spinoff. So I thought it would be interesting to compare the latest Universal tribute store dedicated to the classic film Jurassic Park to Disney's new Indiana Jones store to see which is better. Alright, so let's start with Universal's Jurassic Park store. Before you even enter the building, you'll notice this amazing facade, which is just awesome considering this is a temporary store. Even more amazing though is the picture area over to the right in front of the sick Triceratops from the movie scene. Now, as a young man who grew up on a Triceratops farm, I can say that this prop is about as close to the real thing as you'll see anywhere. It's made of rubber, as most Triceratops are, and because Universal engineers think of everything, the prop gets sprayed with water regularly so it doesn't dry out in the Florida sun. For any big fans of movie references, there's a "Do not eat the West Indian lilac" sign behind the Triceratops, but don't worry, the dinosaurs don't eat those.
Is this West Indian lilac?
Yes. We know they're toxic, but the animals don't eat them.
You sure?
So going inside the Jurassic Park store, you see all these plants and foliage that make it feel like you're entering sort of a jungle, and you immediately come into this area that looks like sort of props, or the props that might be from the movies, which some of them may actually be props from the actual production. I'm not really sure. But if not, then it's a really incredible replica of what it was like to create the movie. I mean, I didn't create the movie, but I assume it's a pretty close replica to what it was like to create the movie. And there's a bunch of information that you can kind of just gather from looking at all of these different areas. Like this looks like a sort of claymation area where they made claymation props. Though they didn't actually use any claymation, so I'm not really sure why I'm saying claymation, but you know what I mean. As you move away from that props area over to the other side of the room, you'll see that they have a cubicle set up like the villains in Jurassic Park. I don't know his name, and I probably should have looked it up before making this video, but I'm lazy. One of the cool things, though, is if you'll remember he wore Hawaiian shirts, they have these Hawaiian shirts that actually have little pictures of him in there. So if you've ever found yourself saying, "Man, I wish I looked like the dude from Jurassic Park that messed everything up for everybody," that is totally your corner. As you go around the room, you'll kind of get the feeling like you're in some sort of production area for the movie. That seems to be the theme of this room, which I thought was really cool. It has a lot of background images of stuff that happened on set, stuff that they created, how they created it. As you go by this one display case, you can see kind of artifacts from behind the scenes of stuff that they made. You can watch this really cool video over here that actually shows you how they made a bunch of the stuff from the movie. So make your own Jurassic Park at home if that's your thing. Next to that, they have a Jurassic era Coke machine. They are fossilized Cokes, and they are amazingly still edible, as much as Coke is edible. As you leave this room, and you head into the next room. The next room is just awesome. It's themed after themes from the movie. Scenes from the movie, not themes from the movie. As you walk in, you immediately notice there's the kitchen scene with the dinosaur where the kids are underneath. And if you have kids, you can put them under. Well, you don't have to have kids, but don't put someone else's kids under there. But you can hide under there and make it look like you're hiding from the dinosaur, just like the kids in the movie. As you progress through this room, you really get a chance to see what makes these tribute stores just so incredible. The Universal staff really went out of their way with this one, setting up the scene from when the guy gets eaten by the Tyrannosaurus Rex while hiding from him in the porta potty, to the scene where he drops the shaving cream. Different guy drops the shaving cream, and that's when the DNA starts mixing with everything. And these are great photo ops, obviously, for anybody who wants to take a photo there. I try and avoid taking photos as much as possible because people complain when they have to look at them. But yeah, these are just so cool. You can just, take these and, I don't know, make a Christmas card. I'm not sure what you would do with them, but nonetheless, you can get some really cool photos from some really iconic scenes here. So, yeah, that's just, to me, why Universal is excelling in this area is you look at the detail of these things. I mean, they are exact replicas of the scenes themselves for the most part. Obviously, size limitations coming in here, but they're just incredible. And so, as you move into the third of 4 rooms, you're going to be in sort of a generator room. Now, this one I actually did not remember from the movies much at all, but I'm sure they were there somewhere. And I think this is the one, if I'm correct, where they have to turn on the power for the rest of the park. So if I got that correct, then leave a comment and tell me how awesome I am. Then I didn't really know why there was a dinosaur coming through the wall. I really need to go back and watch this movie now that I think about it. Finally, when you go into the 4th room, you get this awesome Jurassic Park sign, which is so cool because, I mean, when you think of Jurassic Park, you think of this sign. And so another great photo op that you can take, though people are kind of moving through here. For the most part, everyone was really cooperative, and if you want to take a photo. And over here, you have the desserts that come with this store, which, again, Universal they outdo themselves. I mean, they make special desserts for each of these tribute stores, and they stay roughly the same in terms of what the desserts are. But, I mean, you can see, like, you've got, like, a bunch of stuff themed after Jurassic Park. And finally, as you go into the very last room, this to me is probably one of the coolest parts of this tribute store. This is what really, in my opinion, makes it a tribute store instead of just new things. These are old toys from the 90s when the movie was new. And I mean, if you can't tell by now, Jurassic Park was just a huge deal back then, and that's obviously still a huge deal now, but it was everywhere. It was branded on everything, it seemed, and it was just one of those movies that you remember of the early 90s, like, Forrest Gump, and technically Who Framed Roger Rabbit was late 80s, but nonetheless, one of those fun movies that you remember. And what they had here is a whole bunch of 90s, real 90s, iconic toys, like the Super Nintendo games, DVDs, VHSs, more accurately, comic books, Lego toys. I thought this was the coolest thing. The article that came in publications back then, there was actually a lot of discussion, I remember early on when the movie came out, about whether or not DNA actually could be used to replicate dinosaurs. And so far, I'm pretty sure the answer is still no. Yeah, but this is just, to me, the best part of the tribute store was seeing all of this old Jurassic Park stuff that you would know if you were there back then. So that's it for the Universal Jurassic Park tribute store. Let's check out Disney's and see how that one is. Okay, so the Indiana Jones store. If I had to give it a review, I would say it's there, because that's kind of about as much as I can say. As you can see, it was really, really sparsely populated. There were about 5 things, one of which looked like a suit that I may have been worn by Harrison Ford in the movie, and then the woman's outfit. There's a woman in the new movie as well. There were artifacts such as Indiana Jones' hat and whip, but it wasn't really clear whether or not these were used in the movie or not, or if these were just kind of additional props that they sell over in Hollywood studios. These Also looked like kind of props, but I really was not sure. There was no detailing. It was just like 6 things in a room. It kind of reminded me of somebody who had a decent Indiana Jones collection and an extra room in their house. And so they just kind of put 2 and 2 together and said, let's not put this in the garage, and I don't want it in the living room. When you got to the bar area, which really seemed like that was the focus of this place, was to kind of get you to come in and buy some drinks. They had these Indiana Jones toys, and I couldn't help but think it was pretty weak. Now, I mean, I know I just made a big deal about how cool the Jurassic Park store's toys were, but those were toys from an era when Jurassic Park was actually popular, whereas these toys are like bobbleheads, so not anything that really stands out. The outside porch area is just the area kind of outside Indiana Jones, and I'll tell you, I don't understand this about Disney lately. They don't give you chairs for anything. So, all right, full disclosure on this. I am actually a huge Indiana Jones fan. In fact, when I was growing up, that was one of my, just like any other young boy, iconic characters I wanted to be like. And I was not a huge Jurassic Park fan. So for me to say this, it's I think says a lot of the tribute store from Disney. It really just does feel like they kind of threw something together in hopes that someone would show up and buy stuff. And by buy stuff, they were only selling drinks. So I may not have completely understood what they were doing here. Maybe they were just making an Indiana Jones bar, but that doesn't make much sense because they actually have an Indiana Jones bar called Jock Lindy's over in Disney Springs, and that's a pretty cool bar. It's actually one of the better locations in Disney Springs. So I didn't get what they were doing with this. I know this used to be a store, so the irony is if they were trying to sell something, they sort of went the opposite direction. But nonetheless, when it came to anything related to movies, and I guess as artifacts or as a museum or just something that was meant to be a tribute to movies, this definitely was. The Indiana Jones store was kind of nothing. You could actually reproduce it at home. The Jurassic Park one definitely wins this one. So verdict, Universal. Hands down won this one on tribute stores. So there we go. Thank you for tuning in to this episode, and can't wait to see you in the next one. Remember to like, share, and subscribe as it helps the channel. All right.